Trigonometry. Copy the title. We're going to see the topic of trigonometry. We already finished geometry. Now you may think or you may say that trigonometry is like a continuation of geometry, which, yeah, in a way it is. Okay, important thing, the DSAT requires only basic trigonometry, which means if you are seeing right now the topic of trigonometry at school, or you have already seen the topic of trigonometry and you have done very complicated formulas, you have to learn very complicated pieces of theory, you don't really need that here. The only thing you need here are the basic trigonometric functions, sine, cosine, and tangent. So sine of an angle is the opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is the adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is the opposite over adjacent. So in the case of letter A of angle A, the opposite is minor lowercase a over c. The cosine will be b over c, and the tangent will be a over b. Pause the video, copy what you see, everything you see, and we're going to move on. Another way to remember the trigonometric functions is like this. So it's going to be the opposite, the adjacent, and the hypotenuse. Remember, always in terms of the angle that we're considering, right? So sine is O over H, cosine is A over H, tangent is O over A. And you have to remember that since our sides of a triangle, of a right triangle, we still work with Pythagoras, which means O squared plus A squared equals H squared. Like the opposite plus the adjacent, the square of the opposite plus the square of the adjacent is equal to the hypotenuse square. Pause the video, copy this. We're going to see more properties. So these are some extra properties that you need. So first, the square of sine of an angle plus the square of cosine of an angle is equal to 1. Sine of an angle is equal to cosine of the complementary angle, meaning 90 minus that angle. And sine of an angle divided by cosine of the angle is equal to tangent of the angle. We're going to start by explaining this. Sine of an angle is equal to cosine of an angle. Well, yeah, because if you think about it, this is angle A and this is angle B, right? And B is 90 minus A. And sine, from the point of view of angle A, from the point of view of the blue angle, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, right? So sine of A is opposite A over C. And from the point of view of B, of angle B, the purple angle, then A over C actually corresponds to the adjacent over hypotenuse. So actually cosine of B is the same value. So the sine of an angle is equal to cosine of the complementary angle. Pause the video, copy everything you see, and we're going to continue. So this is an explanation of why this works. So sine square of an angle, since sine is O over H and cosine is A over H, then sine square plus cosine square will be O square over H square plus A square over H square. Since they have the same denominator, I add them up. So I have O square plus A square divided by H square. Since I'm using the Pythagorean theorem, I have to O square plus A square is equal to H square. So I end up having H square divided by H square, which is 1. And this is the reason why sine square plus cosine square is equal to 1. In the case of sine divided by cosine, again, sine is over H, cosine is A over H, so I divide over H divided by A over H. I do extremes and middles, so O times H divided by A times H. I simplify the H's, I end up having O over A, which is tangent. Pause the video, copy everything you have here, and we're going to continue. Okay, we're going to do 2 questions from the digital SAT. I want you to pause the video right now, solve this question, write down the answer, and we're going to check. Okay, so they have triangle FGH is similar to triangle JKL. Remember, similarity means they have the same angles. And then say angle F corresponds to angle J, and angles G and K are right angles. Okay, so we have FGH and we have JKL, right? And in both triangles, G and K are right angles. So these are right angles. And they tell me that this angle F corresponds to this angle J, which means that's my similarity, right? And they tell me sine of F is 308 over 308 over 317. So means that the opposite is 308 and the hypotenuse is 317. And they ask me for sine of J. Here's the thing. Since they are similar but not congruent, doesn't necessarily mean that this is necessarily going to be 308 and this necessarily is going to be 317, but they're going to be proportional, which means this is going to be 308K and this is going to be 317K or N, which means when I find the sine, they're going to be the same because they are the same angle. Because angle F is the exact same as angle J, Therefore, sine of f is exactly the same as sine of angle J. So the answer is going to be the same. 308 divided by 317, letter B. Pause the video, copy this. We are going to move on. Okay, I want you to pause the video, solve this question. You have to use a calculator for this one, and we're going to check. Okay, so we have triangle JKL, cosine of K is 24 over 51, and angle J is a right angle. So, okay, this time I'm going to put it like this. I'm going to shape it in the easiest way. And this is J, this is K, and this is L. And they say cosine of K, right, from angle K, cosine of K is 24 over 51. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent of K is 24 and the hypotenuse is 51. And they're asking me for cosine of L. So they're asking me for the cosine of letter L, of angle L. I'm going to put it in another color. So the easiest thing for me to do right now is to use Pythagoras, right? So I'm going to use Pythagoras to find this over here. So I have 24 square plus this square is equal to 51 square. So this is, I'm going to call it x. So 24 square plus x square is equal to 51 square. All you have to do is put all of these into your calculator and you're going to get that x is equal to 45. Is this the answer? No, because they were not asking me for x. They were asking me for cosine of L. And cosine of L is going to be x over 51 because it's adjacent. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? So I have to do 45 divided by 51, which is going to be, so 45 divided by 51, which is going to be 0.882 something. Depends on that. You can also put this in terms of a fraction. So you can put this as a fraction, which is going to give you 15 over 17. Both are correct answers. Okay, pause the video, copy this, and this is it for trigonometry. Again, you don't really need anything else for trigonometry. And you can practice more in the Panda book, in the Barnes book, in Khan Academy, or with the practice test.